This is Binghamton Now on News Radio 1290 WNBF Binghamton and WNBF.com.
Good morning. Welcome. My name is
Bob Joseph.
Thank you. It's Tuesday, December 10th, 2024.
WNBF.
And here we go again, 607-772-1290. Ready to take a few calls. Go ahead, make that call. Who will be lucky caller number one? Again, the Binghamton Now hotline number is 607-772-1290. Please use that number only if you intend to speak on the program. All personal calls must be directed to our corporate office. Hello, I'd like to make a personal call to Bob Joseph. Okay. Put you on the list. All righty. So, as we start today's broadcast, it is my pleasure to report that the state of the Triple Cities is strong. Everything so far seems normal. But we'll see what the day brings. I'm sure somewhere along the line something strange will happen. That's what I would expect. All right, let's take a call, see what the viewers have to say. Good morning, WNBF. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
This is John from Binghamton. I want my $500 and I want it now.
Wait a second. There's been a misunderstanding. It's $1,000 in cold, hard cash.
Oh, I thought this was New York State. I thought this was Hopeful.
Oh, that. Well, well, people in Binghamton and also in Vestal will get $2,000 in Hochul cash. Everybody else gets $500, but people in Binghamton and Vestal, because they have been very hard hit by inflationary pressures, will get more of their money back from Governor Kathy Hochul, because that's just the kind of governor she is.
Well, isn't it sad that it's come to this? But, Bob, we don't have to worry too much about temporal affairs because our redemption draweth nigh probably by April if we're lucky. If we're lucky, we'll see the spring. If not, it's not good, Bob.
Don't lose faith, Johnny.
We must know the signs of the times, Bob, and the signs of the times. Everything this LGBTQ comes to St. Peter's. This is something that will not stand.
What? Tell me. What is happening? I missed that.
Well, Pope Francis has declared a day for a big celebration at the Vatican for the LGBTQ movement.
Really?
Very, very odd, because as far as I know, I've never seen a person say that he was LGBTQ and didn't engage in the sexual practices, which are anathema to a holy church. So I don't know how any type of promiscuous sexual activity. I mean, he might as well, if Bob Guccione was still living, he had an art appreciation. He was an artist himself. Be like him being invited to the Vatican. Maybe he was. I don't know. But
well, who knows? Who knows? And the whole point, I think, of most organized religions is acknowledgement that we all sin.
Well,
we're all imperfect.
Well,
I mean, just listen to this for ample daily proof. Just listen to this program. I mean, we're all imperfect, you know.
Yes, but we have to agree on the criteria and the rules. See, this is the problem. I mean, if you bring up the rules, you're a hater. You know, that's the problem. It's not the fact that people can't live up to the rules. It's the fact that you have to have rules and you have to have law and you have to have order, but we don't go by that anymore. And I just want to tell. By the way, Bob, just as an aside, I'm not going to name a name on this one, but people should do their due diligence. I believe the fire elections, the fire district elections are today. Interesting that a guy that's running in a fire district was appearance ticket and was arrested on forgery and falsifying a public record, something like that, a felony and a misdemeanor. But see, the voters don't know that. That's the problem.
Well, do the voters in the town of Vestal even know that the election is happening? Has it been well publicized?
Well, I guess it's like election day for fire districts. I guess it's.
Oh, really?
The person that I'm referring to is in Endwell.
Oh,
but it's fire election district day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You certainly don't hear about that from the liberal media.
No, and you don't hear about the fact that, and again, I'm not going to mention districts or anything, that there's people have been through sexual harassment allegations. So, officially. So, you're
that doesn't stop people from becoming Secretary of Defense. So, the problem, as I see it, John, is over the course of the last decade, a lot of people, perhaps in many cases rightly, and some cases wrongly, have been the subject of abuse allegations. And I don't know where anyone is to draw the line, whether it's the media or just the average individual or even a president-elect. Where do you draw the line? Look, we have a man who will be sworn in as president of the United States in just over a month, and he also, I don't need to tell you, he's also been subject of accusations. So, I've had conversations with people who say, in this day and age, anybody, and not just men, but women as well, anybody potentially is vulnerable to false accusations. And I don't know what to do about it, because on the one hand, the guidance has been you need to take accusations seriously. But on the other hand, what about people who may be falsely accused? So I don't know. I have no idea where the line can be drawn, whether it's for local individuals or people who are under the harsh glare of the national media spotlight.
Well, I think for high office, for appointments, this is a big country. There's 300 plus million people. And I think that we have to find people that either have happy marriages or aren't interested in sex.
Well, then who? Boy, it's going to wind up being a really short list, John.
Well, for example, would never see Ralph Nader at a gentleman's club. He's just not that type of guy.
So we think. As far and by the way, never had an off-the-record interview or a conversation with Mr. Nader, but I've interviewed him over the years a few times. Yeah, that's the impression you get, but who knows?
Well,
and again, I'm not suggesting I have information to the contrary. Just like some people whose reputations or the public perception of certain people is like, wow. I'll just say wow, and come to find out in their real lives, if you get a chance to know them, it's like, well, what's all this with your reputation? Oh yeah, it's well crafted. Well, you don't seem like a wow kind of person. I know, I'm not. I'm going home. I'm going to watch the best of 60 Minutes, some of my favorite Leslie Stahl segments, and then I'm going to go to bed at 9. So you don't know. You really don't know for sure.
Well, is there? In other words, people go to all kinds of churches, and
sure.
they rub shoulders with people.
Sure.
And they know
the good
people,
and the bad.
Right. But some people some people are better than others. I mean, in other
What do
words,
you mean by, no one's better than anyone else. We're all,
Well,
in the grand scheme of things, we're all, in the eyes of our Creator, we're all equal.
Well, we're now we're.
Yeah, I
talking
know.
about-
Now you're saying some are more equal than others. I think I understand the point you're making, but
My point is this: if you hang out with wise guys or dope addicts, right, and this is your circle of friends, you begin to think that the whole world is on dope, or the whole world is, runs like the, So that's all.
All right. Appreciate the call, and we are off to a stellar start on this Tuesday. More calls probably will be taken between now and noon, depending on operational requirements. We'll see. We'll see how things work out here. For those who need it, the number is 607-772-1290. Please do not contact directory assistance for the number, because I don't know that they have it. I don't think it's in the listings. I think it's just a number for you and all WNBF listeners. 607-772-1290. So call in if you have thoughts, and if we have the ability, we certainly will include your call as part of our Tuesday presentation. This is Binghamton Now. I'm Bob Joseph, 92.1 FM, 1290 AM, online at WNBF.com. Happy radio time, 9:24. That's 24 past the hour. And we're joined now by Karen Sweet O'Neill with a preview of tomorrow's important informational presentation. This preview sponsored by KSO Insurance Solutions. Good morning.
Good morning, Bob. How are you?
Great.
Oh, good. Yeah, bring some sunshine. Where's the sun? I feel like I live
Didn't
in
Richie
England.
Havens have a song? Where is the sun? Or Here
Where
Comes
is
the Sun.
No, that's Here Comes. No, that's not Richie Havens.
Yeah. Well, he
Here
did
Comes
it.
the Sun?
The Beatles, I
Yeah,
think,
the
and then but
Yeah.
Richie Havens did his own interesting rendition. Anyway, the sun will
didn't know that.
return. The sun will return Friday.
Okay.
It is. Well, according
That's all right.
that's according to the kids on their weather deck. Let me just check. Let me look up to the weather deck.
Or maybe Thursday. It might get colder, but sunny.
Oh, yes. Thursday will be mostly sunny. A slight chance of snow showers, according to the weather deckers. And the high, listen, so tomorrow's high is going to be 52. Thursday's high is 29. So I guess something is going to happen between Wednesday and Thursday. Oh, torrential rain.
Oh. So
Yeah.
there's a lot going on out there.
Possibly 10 to 12 inches.
Oh, get out of
Oh, get out of there. I was just checking to see if the transmitters are working. No, it's not
You're
going to be
just checking to see if I'm listening.
Just checking to see if the listeners want to go out and buy some milk and cheese whiz. No, tomorrow the rain 3/4 to 1 inch possible, according to the weather deck. So it's not going to be that bad. Tonight we'll get 1/4 to a half inch, and then tomorrow 3/4 to 1 inch. So in terms of flood possibility, well, there's always a risk.
0.
No, there's never. Don't ever say the possibility of something is 0. There's always a risk.
All right, I shall. I will.
There's a
never do it
risk.
again.
Not only is there a risk of flooding, but there's a risk of an earthquake.
Oh,
The risk is minimal, but never rule it out, because otherwise people won't listen. So
the
stay
way it
tuned.
works.
I'm going to be doing an update later this
All right.
morning, and I'll also put it on Twitter and Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Snapcrap, and
yeah, no kidding.
that's what it's
kidding.
about. We're just trying to. It's
Communication.
communications, engagement, and I'm not the one who said it's about the clicks. Anyway, that's not why you called.
Well, no.
Now, sadly,
that's
Karen, we're
okay.
totally out of time. We just blew it talking
Okay,
about
well,
random
good
stuff,
speaking
but
with you.
but the people up on their weather deck. Anyway, what will we be focusing tomorrow morning?
We're going to talk about how to reduce your income, and can you reduce your income for 2024? Because we all want to make money, but at the end of the year, we don't want to have made too much money because guess who gets the biggest portion of it?
Oh, I
And that's,
know.
of course, Uncle Sam.
Oh,
So
I'm
are there-
not looking forward to that part.
No. So are there strategies that we can utilize that can reduce our income, and then this way we can pay less to the government? And there are a couple strategies that we can use. We've got a couple weeks left, and in some cases till April 15th. So we're going to talk about that and focus on the couple weeks and what you need to do. And then this way, it just helps in the long run because obviously we work hard for our money, and the less we can pay to the government, the better I think everybody feels.
Legally.
Well,
Legally.
of course. That goes without saying.
Yes. Well, I just wanted to emphasize in case.
Apparently not for you, but you said so good.
Well, according to my defense team,
What?
that's what I have. I have a
Right.
powerful defense a team that I've assembled.
A lot of anger out there, you know.
Oh, of course. Well,
So-
you know, what can you say? You know, it's part of the human condition. Some of us at times are happy and some are not happy. I mean, that's the human condition. You know,
Well,
think about over the last few decades of your life. There have been times when you've been gleeful and times less than gleeful. So that's,
well,
you know,
gleeful,
that's-
there's a word. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. But you don't have to act on every emotion. that
Oh,
you
no.
have.
No, you shouldn't.
That's the problem.
That is the problem
I think.
these days.
You know, so it's just, well, but again, that's not the reason I called. So
No.
we'll talk about
Oh, yeah.
how we can reduce our taxes before the end of the year so that, because obviously once 2025 comes,
Too late.
into 2025,
Yeah.
too late in many cases, except for qualified accounts, which we can reduce by April 15th. So we'll talk about that. We are at 1708 Vestal Parkway East, up above Plato's Closet in Style Encore. You can reach us several ways for an appointment. You can simply give us a call at 607-772-4898. You can Google us at KSO Insurance, and all our contact information comes up, and you can make an appointment that way. And if you missed the phone number, we have a big display ad under insurance in the yellow pages.
Well, tomorrow morning at 9:20, our listeners will be gathering by the radio.
The fireplace.
Yeah. Well, you set up your radio right next to the fireplace.
My mom does.
Yeah.
Yep.
All thoughtful radio listeners set up their device, whether it's one of the big radios from yesteryear or maybe a more modern internet-equipped device to listen at WNBF.com. You set it up right next to the fireplace, have an ample amount of coffee, and for tomorrow, I would say cinnamon rolls. Let's do
Oh, that's
coffee,
a good choice.
cinnamon
That's a good
rolls.
choice, Bob.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the
Yeah.
frosting
Can't
on
go wrong
top.
with that.
Melty
Yeah.
frosting. Melty.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we will talk tomorrow morning. Karen Sweet O'Neill, thank you for joining us right here at WNBF.
Okay, Bob. Have a great day.
You
Thanks.
too. Take care.
Thanks.
It's 9:30, WNBF Binghamton.
News Radio 1290 WNBF.
All right, let's take a call. Why not? Hi, WNBF. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Bob, it's Ron from Binghamton.
Morning.
I'm on the air.
Yes, you are. You're speaking to an
wonderful.
audience of a few dozen people, so choose your words with precision.
Hey, Bob, I know you drink Moxie, and I was wondering if you ever have, or maybe regularly, drink raw milk.
Never have, never will.
Okay, you've never drank raw milk, huh?
provided it to me and I consumed it unwittingly. No. In my wildest nightmares, I would not, of all the things that I would never attempt to do, I would never, ever attempt to drink raw milk.
Well, you probably know about Louis Pasteur. You know, he changed that and made milk safe, apparently.
Well, I wouldn't say safe, safer. The question you have to ask yourself, Ron, is anything safe?
Yeah.
I don't believe. Here's my as my good buddy Ralph Nader might say, everything is unsafe. Things are unsafe at any speed, whether it's a Corvair or a glass of chocolate milk, or even better, a glass of chocolate milk drink. When you drink chocolate milk drink, look at the ingredients and you tell me if that's something Ralph Nader would endorse.
So I'm presuming here that you've never had a Yoo-Hoo chocolate soda.
Yeah, I have.
Yoo-Hoo?
Well, that's in a... Now, that is completely different than what I was talking about. I was talking about chocolate milk drink that you would get in the cartons. Remember, Crowley's used to have chocolate milk drink before they shut down their plant on Conklin Avenue and put 100 people out of work. Yoo-Hoo I've had. In my life, I've probably had it less than 10 times, but, fewer than 10 times. And what can you say about Yoo-Hoo that hasn't already been said? It's probably, these days, it's probably sweetened with high fructose corn syrup and contains all the ingredients one would expect in that sort of highly processed beverage.
Years ago, this probably goes back before your time, but a major spokesman for you when I was a kid was Yogi Berra. Yogi Berra was the Yoo-Hoo spokesman. Did you know that?
I believe I have a vague recollection that he was some sort of highly paid endorser of the substance.
Now, this leads me to an important question. Apparently, a proponent of raw milk, thinking that we should be drinking raw milk as a matter of course, is the prospective new head of the Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He's a raw milk advocate. Did you know that?
I've heard that. I've seen the reports.
Yeah. You know, naming Robert F. Kennedy the head of Health and Human Services would be like naming a pacifist as head of the Defense Department.
Yeah, well, the people voted for it, so we can all opine about the wisdom of the president-elect's apparent choices, but hey, the people have decided, so all I can say, starting January 20th, buckle up for fun. Buckle up
for a...
Go out and have yourself a raw milk cocktail. Hey, if that's your style, I'm not going to stop you. Now, if I had a relative or a friend who said, "Bob, I'm thinking about drinking raw milk. What's your thought?" I would say, well, my thought is I wouldn't do it. Well, would you buy me a gallon of raw milk when you're at the raw milk hut? No, I'm not going to buy it for you. Am I going to physically stop you from consuming it? No. If you're an adult, say anybody over the age of 21 who wants to consume raw milk or smoke weed, go for it. It's not my life. Here are two things. These aren't the only two things I discourage people from using, but two things I do discourage people of all ages from using: raw milk and cannabis. But you do you.
Yeah, I'm wondering, Bob, and your viewers come from an area which is partially rural and agricultural, especially as you go down to PA and such. Well, New York's a great milk state. I'm wondering how many of your viewers have drunk raw milk or drink raw milk. You know what? Remember when you had asking people what's your favorite pie? Remember that goes back a ways. You had people call in and tell you what their favorite pie was. I'm wondering if people could volunteer whether they've ever drunk raw milk or if they believe in raw milk.
Well, have you?
Yes, I have.
Well, and why? Why did you do that?
Oh, I was at a relative's house, in fact, in PA. It's got to be 25 years ago. And they said, hey, try this. This is raw milk. And I drank it, and lived to tell about it. So I'm just wondering because we might be having some interesting changes after January 20th when, the raw milk proponents come in to lead the nation.
Maybe, but probably not. I mean, RFK Jr., what can you say? And I mean, at some point, maybe in the next few days, I'll spend some time sharing my thoughts about RFK Jr., but today's not the day. In terms of his beliefs about raw milk or his beliefs about vaccinations, hey, these things have been fairly well documented. If he ever wants to call into the program to be subjected to questioning, he knows my number. Number's well publicized, so it's he's entitled to his opinions. And people, I say anybody over the age of 21, it should be smart enough to do your research. If you want to drink raw milk because RFK Jr. somehow thinks it's okay, well, do it. But you're not doing it with my endorsement. You're doing it with my hope that you don't get sick. And here's the thing about raw milk. Even though I have not knowingly consumed raw milk, I do have a curiosity about it. I am curious about what raw milk is like. First of all, I'm not a milk fan anyway, of any type. I mean, truly, any type. So, including the soy milks and all the other fake milks and all that. So, stipulating that I don't care for milk to begin with, I have this innate curiosity, perhaps as a journalist, maybe as a scientist. I have a curiosity about how it tastes, but because I'm a little concerned about potential health risks, I'm not going to try it. Maybe someday I will try it if I'm feeling lucky. I mean, the truth is, if I go down, I have been at a place that I think it is in Pennsylvania. Maybe it's in Tioga County. I know I've been at a place that sold raw milk years ago, and they perhaps still do. And I was curious about it, mainly because I don't care for milk to begin with. Maybe if I had raw milk, maybe suddenly it'd be like, wow, this is good. This is great. So
you might find that out. And, raw milk does go very well with Vegemite.
There you go again. Circling back as you will.
Yes.
Well, I can't promise anything because I'm not running for anything, so I will not promise. But, this could be the year between now and the end of the month. This could be the year where I actually sample Vegemite on the radio. So I hope you'll stay tuned to every show.
Well, I will. And please, before you sample it, get in touch with me because I want you to try it the right way. You got to give it a fair shake. And,
right.
There's a way to do it.
All righty.
I'm here for you, Bob.
Thanks, Ron. I know.
Okay.
I appreciate it. It's 9:42 at WNBF. This is the only talk show of its kind. And the Federal Communications Commission appreciates that. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
This is Matt from Binghamton.
Yes, sir. What's on your mind?
First of all, I don't know. I think I said something about Ron being back, but it's great to hear his voice. And since I know he's probably listening right now, I missed him when he was on a hiatus. But anyway, look, all you got to do is create a new drink. Call it Moxie Float. I'm sure if you put Moxie in any kind of thing with bacteria in it, that the Moxie will kill the bacteria immediately, and you could have a drink milk with Moxie, with raw milk with Moxie, and it wouldn't have any problem.
That's, there is probably some truth to that. As I said, I still, even though I am not looking forward to trying raw milk, I still have this curiosity, and just having the conversation with Ron now, I'm actually more curious than ever of what it tastes like. So who knows, maybe against my better judgment, I'll show up on Friday and have a 16-ounce glass of raw milk on the air. We'll see if I return.
Why don't we try Moxie, PCBs, and all at once?
Oh, isn't it interesting that everybody always wants to come back around to humiliating Hugh Leo Carey?
I offer here and now to walk into Binghamton, to any part of that building, and swallow an entire glass of PCBs. And then run a mile afterwards, all right?
Isn't it funny just how we have that queued up always?
That's exactly what I was going to say.
The astute radio person is saying, how do you do that, Bob? How? Because, again, none of this is rehearsed. You didn't tell me yesterday, I'm going to call in Tuesday morning at 9:43 and talk about PCBs, so have that queued up. It's just amazing.
Well, you didn't talk about the little critter they had made up. All you have to do is push it, the button on its stomach, and it says that, or pull a string or whatever. But anyway, the other thing I wanted to call about is my dear friend John. There's a lot of us that are recovering Catholics, and the reason we're recovering Catholics is because exactly that the Catholic Church hasn't kept up with the reality of what the world's really about. There's been gay people, there's been transgender people from the beginning of time, and the Catholic Church hasn't kept up with that. And so many people, he says he doesn't want people living in sin. Well, then change the rules to the times, because the only reason it was because of prejudice. People are born gay. People are born with a certain, has all to do with hormones. Everybody knows that if they follow the science. The hormones of the mother. It's got nothing to do with a life choice. It's how you're born. And if the Catholic Church continues not to honor people who are born a certain way, and I know a lot of Catholic people that still go to church, gay people that are still go as good Catholics, but the reality is, if you don't allow gay people to get married in the Catholic Church, and we all know that people have sexual urges their whole life, then you're almost making it so they live in, the way John would put it, live in sin. So get with the times, let the Pope do what he wants, and get people, embrace everybody, so that the Catholic Church can then be seen again to be a progressive. I mean, they do a lot of progressive things. That's what I like about the Catholic Church. They have a whole movement that helps poor people and stuff like that, which, by the way, John also rails against Catholic charities and stuff. So I just think that there's too many. It comes down to conservatives and liberals again. And I think if you want to be inclusive and include everybody, the church is going to be a lot stronger, and there'll be a lot more people going to church.
Appreciate your call. Thank you, Matthew. That's the former mayor of Binghamton, Matt Ryan. Right here, WNBF. Phone lines are open to all former mayors of Binghamton, by the way. So for former mayors, the number is 607-772-1290. If you are a former mayor of Binghamton, your call will receive priority handling. Coming up later today, WNBF will gleefully... Is gleefully the word today? Let's strike that. Later today, WNBF will proudly present Dan Bongino from noon to 3 and Sean Hannity from 3 to 6. There's always something to think about when you listen to WNBF. Stay connected using the free WNBF app. 9:51, let's return to the phone lines at 607-772-1290. Dave in Endicott, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Bob. I heard you talking about raw milk. I lived on a farm. We drank raw milk from day one, every day.
All right. Well,
And
enjoy. Drink up, baby.
no, but the funny thing is, I never drink milk now. I don't know why.
And why? Yeah, why have you stopped? Why don't you start again? Why don't you go down to the raw milk place? I'll find it. We could drive down and you could buy a gallon of raw milk, and I'll film it and see how many clicks we get.
No, that's okay, Bob. I'd rather do something more worthwhile.
I've read about some of the stuff that's found in raw milk, and that's basically some of the stuff that I will not knowingly consume. So, I'm sure it's just fabulous, but as for me, I'm not going to intentionally consume some of that stuff.
I don't blame you. I wouldn't either now. I'm a sort of lactose intolerant, so I don't do much dairy products.
When did that begin? So you drank milk, including raw milk, for much of your life. So when did you start to become lactose intolerant?
Well, I'm 78, and I think it happened when I hit the magic 50s.
I didn't know that that's something, well, obviously, sensitivity to various things, lactose or other things, and allergies can happen, but I'm surprised that, for most of your life that you consume milk, and then at some point, maybe around 50, you develop that. So.
Well, I'm 78, got cancer, but I'm doing well. That's all I care about.
Yeah, well, that's the main thing. The main thing is to keep moving forward, do everything in your power to stay as healthy as you can for as long as you're able.
Well, that's a good idea, Bob. Great show. Keep it up and have a happy holiday.
You too, Dave. Thank you for calling in.
Okay, bye-bye.
9:53. Now, I'm not doubting that many people have enjoyed raw milk for years, decades. Maybe some people, if you grew up on a farm or if you're still living on a farm and you have a high level of confidence in your cows, sheep, and goats and think that their raw milk isn't going to hurt you, well, who knows? I mean, after all, we saw what can happen when you eat the wrong carrots. And here I thought, because I'm a product of public schools, I thought eating carrots as a snack was probably healthier than eating chocolate chips. But it turns out I haven't heard of many people getting sick from snacking on chocolate chips, but I've heard of people getting sick from snacking on carrots. They had E. coli. So what can I say? It's right. What a world. Here's the forecast now from the National Weather Service. From Mount Ettrick directly to you. Cloudy today. Slight chance of drizzle. There was a little bit of fog when I was motoring in. We will have some rain this afternoon. High around 49. Rain tonight. Low 47. Rain tomorrow. Temperatures tomorrow will rise to 52 in the morning, then fall to 43 by late in the day. And then the outlook for later in the week, the sun. The sun actually returns on Thursday. Mostly sunny Thursday, a slight chance of snow showers, high 29. And mostly sunny Friday, high 29. Right now, it seems to be 44. It's 7 Celsius here at WNBF and WNBF.com. Air quality seems acceptable. Air quality is good, according to the Department of Air. I think the air quality index, when I checked earlier this hour, I think it was 36. Yeah, good enough. Not perfect, but good enough. Oh, 39. It's 39 now. Have more coming up. Don't touch that dial. This is Bob Joseph. You're listening to Binghamton Now on a Tuesday morning at News Radio, WNBF, WNBF.com. Joined in the studio by Broome County historian Roger Luther. Good morning.
Hi, Bob.
Seen any good buildings lately?
I saw one yesterday, but it's not there today.
No, it's amazing what a difference a day makes.
That happens so fast.
It was almost lightning speed.
And now it's all going into dumpster.
Yep. Probably heading north out to the landfill and the town of Barker. So there you go. If you want to see what happened to 188 Court Street, you can pay your respects at the Broome County landfill.
You know, there is one good thing that came out of that. PAST was in favor of keeping that building up. Put notices up on Facebook and wrote a letter of support to City Council and CAUD. But you can only do so much, and if the owner really wants to tear his building down, he can do that. That's what he did. The good thing is he allowed PAST to come in and salvage some items before it was demolished. In fact, he even delayed the demolition by 2 or 3 weeks just to allow that to happen. So at least some of what was in that building, in that house, will survive and live again.
And I was pleased to hear that. I haven't been able to speak with Phil Akel in a while. Last time I saw him was at a Binghamton Planning Commission meeting. We didn't have a chance to really chat, but I was pleased that he allowed PAST to have access to that house at 188 Court Street to retrieve some of the items of interest, including, I believe, some stained glass and some...
Stained glass and etched glass, spindles. The fireplace surrounds are magnificent.
And we do have a story at WNBF.com with a few photos from inside. Obviously, the 4 photos we obtained from the city of Binghamton don't do the house justice, but it gives you sort of a sample or an inkling of certain spots inside that house. Let's talk about this, because from the beginning, when I heard that this building had been acquired just about a year ago, it was almost exactly a year ago. It was late December of 2023. And I heard at the meeting of the Planning Commission that Mr. Akel's plan was to have the building removed to provide more parking for another historic building next door. The building next door, that office building, used to be, that was the first place for the giant food markets back in December 1932. So, I think there ought to be a historic marker outside that building.
That's a good point.
If you know people who do historic markers, like some foundation, I'm serious.
I'll see what I can do.
Because that, I think, let's face it, late 1932, they opened the place up, and it was the first of what ultimately became a dozen giant markets.
Oh, yeah.
So think about that.
A lot of history.
So let's talk a little bit about the White Building, the building that in its final iteration, final chapter, when it was still in use before it was sold about a year ago, for a while it served as a law office.
Yeah, and before that, originally it was a home to a man and his wife, Philo Lee and Eliza Lee. And he was a businessman. He opened it up as a haberdashery. men's clothing store, very first one in Binghamton. So that's a little bit historic.
So this house, based on the information that I received probably from the Preservation Association of the Southern Tier, the house itself was constructed in 1885, I believe.
1885, yeah. And that family lived there until, let's see, she died at over 100 years old in 1934.
So let's talk about, from your perspective as Broome County historian, and because of your involvement with the Preservation Association, why, in your view, was it important to try to keep the building intact? Because some people have told me, it's just a house. There are other houses, maybe not identical to it, but similar to it elsewhere around Binghamton or elsewhere around Broome County. What was so important, in your view, as a preservationist, about trying to keep this building where it was?
Well, like I said, it is not even that historic. It was built in 1885. It was still in good condition. It was the last remaining residence on the south side of Court Street there. Other than that, we hate to see anything come down, but you have to pick and choose. You have to choose your battles. We did what we could to save the building, but unless there's a huge public outcry to keep it, it's probably going to come down. You can only do so much.
And for people who aren't familiar with you, even though you're now the Broome County historian, and you've been very, very much involved in the Preservation Association of the Southern Tier for years, you care about the historic structures in our community, even though you didn't grow up here.
Oh, yeah. That's one of the first things I noticed when we moved here 25 years ago, was the beautiful architecture that we have here. Just gorgeous. So, yeah, I fell in love with it and been involved with it ever since.
And I know at various times there have been buildings, for example, the building that used to be, well, I guess it was twin buildings or two separate buildings across the street from here, the Ross and O'Neill buildings. There was a time, I think, if I'm not mistaken, that you held a news conference, wasn't it out at the Phelps Mansion, or Phelps Museum Mansion, and we're talking about trying to obtain grants to preserve those buildings that were here at the corner of Court and State. Am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah, pretty close. Yeah. By that time, the O'Neill building was in such bad shape, there was no alternative. It really had to come down. It was a hazard.
Well, things were falling off the building.
Yeah.
It was becoming a hazard for pedestrians and motorists.
Yeah, the problem is it never should have got to that point, but once it did, it had to come down.
So, as you look around Binghamton and elsewhere around the Southern Tier, Broome and Tioga counties, are there any other specific buildings that are sort of on your radar that appear to be endangered, that could be in jeopardy looking ahead in the next few years?
Oh, one we've had our eyes on, well, two we've had our eyes on for many, many years, are the Stone Opera House and the Strand Theater. And things are happening there. They're happening very, very slowly, but as I understand it, the Strand, things are still moving forward with the Strand. Once the Strand is finished with housing and commercial space on the ground floor, they'll move on to the Stone Opera House.
And that building on Chenango Street, that's a fascinating building. Unfortunately, I was never in there when it was in use, but I'm looking up now. I had the opportunity to go inside there 2 years ago. It was the summer of 2022. And I was just fascinated, even though a lot of it had already been gutted, but you could still see some of what made that theater here in downtown Binghamton so special over the years.
Yeah. But those buildings, as important as they are, pale in comparison to the castle up on the hill.
And remarkably, and I would say almost miraculously, the state this year finally gave permission for some fortunate people to go through the castle on a tour. And I am grateful for the work that PAST did, because the work that you and your colleagues with the Preservation Association, that work with the state, enabled me to finally get inside there and go on a tour on one Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, and not just you, but about 300 other people.
There was a lot of interest.
There was a lot of interest. And we were anticipating so much interest. Now, I mean, this has been done at other asylums around the state, and it has always been a disaster. There would be lines of people 2 miles long waiting to get in, jumping over fences and whatnot. So we were very aware of that, and what we decided to do was limit. We would do 2 days of tours, one for past members only, one for OMH employees only, and control it. And even then, hold a lottery to make sure that we didn't have too many people come.
And the state gave permission with conditions. I mean, the one thing that frustrated me as a journalist and basically what I consider to be a local historian was part of the conditions were no photography.
Yeah.
Which I do understand to an extent, but that was the only disappointment of the day. But it also, in its own way, now that I think about it, made it even more special, because knowing that this is an opportunity you may not have ever again.
Yeah,
maybe we'll get back in, maybe more opportunities will exist, or maybe they won't. But the fact is that because of the state's conditional approval for the tours, no photography, and so it was sort of live in the moment, appreciate this, breathe it in, and take in all of the sights and sounds of the castle as it is in 2024.
Yeah, it was an unforgettable experience for everybody, that's for sure. You know, it closed 31 years ago, and until these tours, no people were allowed into that building other than security and maintenance. So this was a monumental event, and I'm hoping we can do it again.
What do you hear about the future? Because so many people speculate. There have been hopes and plans discussed in the past, and unfortunately, the plans that have been discussed publicly never came to fruition.
We've missed some wonderful opportunities over the years, but there's still activity in the background. People are still looking for, searching out people that may have an interest, taking parties through the building that may have an interest. So it's still, and meanwhile, the building is mothballed. The OMH is keeping it warm and clean and relatively safe.
And the fact that at least the state hasn't said, no, we're just shutting off the utilities, we're not going to heat it anymore.
Exactly.
And we're just going to let nature run its course. And if somebody at some point in the future comes along with an idea, not just a concept, but also the money needed to make it happen, then they can deal with whatever condition the structure is in at that point. I mean, obviously, structure for any future use will need a tremendous amount of work, but the fact that at least the heat has been kept on and some basic things have been maintained by the state of New York is really encouraging.
And that has not been cheap. You know, I say this all the time, that we owe the Office of Mental Health a huge thank you for keeping that heat on. That's what's preserved the building.
Well, and that's another thing, in my opinion, that can't be taken for granted, because at some point, somebody in a position of authority, whether it's that division of New York State government or somebody higher up, might just say, oh, the building hasn't been used for decades and nobody has a viable plan going forward, so let's save some money. And unfortunately, if it ever gets to that, well, the efforts that you and other people have made to try to keep the building in condition for some future use, all those efforts will have been for naught.
Oh, yeah. I worry about that big time.
Talking with Broome County historian Roger Luther. It's 10:23 here on WNBF. The Preservation Association of the Southern Tier has something special for the holiday season. You mentioned this when we were chatting yesterday, and I said, yes, we should talk about this, because when you described what the organization has done, I said, that sounds amazing. And then you brought a set of these ornaments in, and now I'm just so glad that you brought them in so we can talk about them, because they
well, first of all, it's not Preservation Association. This is the Broome County Historical Society.
I apologize.
That's my other hat.
There you go. You're a man of many hats. Broome County Historical Society, Preservation Association, and county historian. So thank you for the clarification. Tell us about these very special ornaments.
Well, we got to thinking that, Broome County Historical Society every year puts out publications, new books about local history. This year we thought we'd try something new in the form of ornaments that really commemorate our carousels. We have 6 carousels in Broome County, all donated by George F. Johnson, all donated between 1919 and 1934. We're known as the carousel capital of the world. Why not celebrate it? So we contacted a company out in Utah that could take our photographs and our text and our documentation on these carousels and create a little medallion, a little commemorative ornament, one for each of the carousels. They turned out beautiful. The horses almost have a 3D effect. So yeah, there's one for each one. The name is on the front. The year that it was built is on the front, and on the back is a little blurb about the history of that particular carousel. And the animals themselves are from actual photos from the animals in our carousels. So they're really neat.
And tell our listeners a bit about who worked on this, because you were involved, but also Brian Fry from WSKG.
Yep. Brian Fry came up with the idea, found the company that could make them, and really spearheaded the whole effort. So,
and by the way, speaking of Brian Fry, he has been continuing to work on yet another documentary film about the carousels of Broome County. And that still is a work in progress. I know very recently, within the last, I think, 2 or 3 weeks, the Broome County Historical Society actually had a presentation that included some of the highlights, some of the information about Brian's new project about focusing on our carousels.
Yeah, that was a wonderful program. Had a great turnout. And if anybody wants to see it, it is on video on the Broome County Historical Society website. That's broomehistory.org.
And I just punched that up. Well, you look dapper there.
Dapper?
Yeah. Classy.
Oh, by the way, so these carousels can be purchased as a complete set of 6, and that's $75 plus tax, or an individual ornament. So, for instance, if you live near Highland Park, you might want one just for that carousel, and those are $15 each. And you can get them at the History Center upstairs in the library. Order them online from our website.
And the thing that I think is also special about these 6 carousel ornaments from the Broome County Historical Society, not only are they beautiful on the front, but they also, on the reverse side, have information about the specific carousel. So a lot of the historic detail about whether it's the carousel at Rec Park or Ross Park or Highland Park or Endicott's North Side Park or West Endicott Park. Which one did I forget? CFJ Park.
Yeah.
So you can can see sort of the overview of the background of those carousels, because they almost all of them are about a century old. I think the one at Rec Park has been there since 1925. So it's
the first one was actually at Ideal Park and then moved to Highland Park. That's the very first one.
That's right. Was that the only carousel that was moved to a new location?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, when we were researching for this program, came up with some interesting surprises. So if you watch the video, that's one more reason to watch the video.
All right. Well, I'm going to sign off the show early at 10:30, and then I'll be able to watch the video. I'll just play reruns of the very best of Binghamton Now while I watch the video. No, I can't do that. Contractually, I think I would find myself in a tough spot. Anything else that we should know?
No, other than this has been a hot item. They've been selling like hotcakes, and it's a limited edition. We only ordered so many.
Well, and my guess is, because of you're discussing it on the program, that the remaining quantities may not last for very long.
They may not.
So, but I also understand if this first lot does run out, there probably is going to be another order placed at some point in the near future. By the
we're already
Historical
talking
Society.
about it. We were surprised at how many orders came in, and from all over the country. It's incredible.
Well,
and it's all been spread on social media. Started out on Facebook, and incredible response.
Roger Luther, thank you so much for joining us in the studio this morning. So much to talk about, so much for people who really appreciate the history of Broome County and the Southern Tier. Thanks for the work you do.
Oh, thank you, Bob.
Thanks
Always
for
a pleasure.
the segments you do on Fox 40. I enjoy those.
Oh, you watch
look-backs. Well, I do. I watch all channels.
That's good.
Fox 40, News 34, 12 News, WSKG, even the Cartoon Network when there's a commercial break. If all the other stations are in a commercial or pledge break, then I go and watch the Cartoon Network.
Those Fox 40 things are a riot. I love doing that.
It's just fascinating.
I can't believe I've been doing this for 8 years.
Well, I'm glad that you do. And I think it's, of course, interesting to people like myself, people of a certain age, and say, well, I have an appreciation. I wasn't around here 100 years ago, but I have an appreciation for some of the institutions and some of the people and players for things that were going on around our area in 1924. And some of those things that happened, some shed new light on the way things turned out. Some are just funny as heck.
Yeah.
And then
they're great stories.
Yeah, and the other thing that, and I point this out to people because a lot of times my focus when I look at some of the Binghamton Press newspaper archives, I tend to focus about 50 years ago because I'm always fascinated. That's about the time when I was delivering the newspaper in Endicott, and I say, oh, I remember that headline, the afternoon when Spiro Agnew resigned, and I thought, I'm bringing breaking news to the doorsteps of people in Endicott, and also so many other local stories, like the bridge that we could have had at Front Street, between Front Street and Pennsylvania Avenue. But that didn't happen 50 years ago because the people of Binghamton couldn't agree to it.
Yeah. Well, the neat thing about 100 years ago is all the stuff that we see, all the buildings that we're talking about, that's the period of time that they were being built. The Memorial Bridge celebrates its 100th anniversary next year, next Memorial Day. So all of the stuff that we see, that we hold so dear, was happening 100 years ago.
Good times.
Yeah.
Good times. And we can always learn from our history. Roger Luther, thank you so much.
Thanks, Bob.
It's 10:32. This is WNBF's Binghamton Now. We'll be taking phone calls until noon for those who have an interest in contributing to the program. You're under no obligation to contribute, but if you want, feel free to call us. 607-772-1290. Here at News Radio, WNBF. So, if you want to see a little bit of the activity that happened on Monday at 188 Court Street, take a look. Take a look at WNBF.com. We have a story posted there with some of the pictures and some of the videos. A couple of videos. So, well, there it goes. Once you start tearing down a building, and I've seen a lot of this before, once you start doing it, it goes quickly. I mean, obviously, the demolition of the IBM buildings in Endicott won't go that quick, but still, it's amazing what you can do. It's amazing what you could do with the properly trained crew with the appropriate equipment. You can do one of these jobs quickly. So it's all part of the changing scene here in the Triple Cities, in Binghamton and vicinity. And we enjoy documenting stuff. That's the main thing. The main thing is to show you some of the things that are going on around here. I've got an interesting story. On my way in, I saw something going on, and I've been waiting for this to happen now for several months, and it's happening. So I decided, I didn't even know it was going to happen today. So I took some pictures, had to get my feet muddy. It was a little messy, but hey, sometimes you have to get out of your newsmobile and go take pictures. Take pictures and video. Let's see what else. We're getting a little bit of discussion about the demolition of that building, the White House on Court Street. And this is on Twitter. Some of the people weighing in. One person wrote, "One more multiple housing unit gone in our area. Nobody can afford to build any housing that isn't high-end or subsidized, one or the other. Less units and the same number of people. Rents rise, of course. Affordable housing suffers because of New York State property taxes and insane regulations." Then somebody else responded to that post on Twitter. And the person, Benny, wrote on Twitter, "Right on. And my take is we need to preserve our old buildings. The architecture and building materials of the past add beauty to our lives. Look at the homes on Front Street that were saved and refurbished for low-income people, preserving the old for others to use and enjoy." And then the original commenter on Twitter said, "The real issue is the houses get older and older, but nothing new is being built. We tear them down and replace them with almost nothing due to crazy high property taxes and building regulations. Government subsidies are not the answer," according to that one person on Twitter. And the point about the houses that were rehabbed on Front Street and some of the others nearby with the First Ward Action Council, I think the First Ward Action Council was in a position to actually renovate the house at 188 Court Street. And seems like that might have been a nice thing to have the First Ward Action Council do what needed to be done, and probably, as usual, use grants, because it wasn't going to be inexpensive. That was one of the points that Mr. Akel mentioned, I believe, during some of the city's review of the plans for the additional parking spaces for the office building that the family owns next door at 184 Court Street. The building, the White House, 2.5-story White House, that was acquired for $140,000 last December, that would have required a significant amount of work to get it back into good condition for use, whether it would be possibly for a residential use or maybe some other non-residential use. So there was a substantial amount of money that would have been required to get the building back into shape. It would have been nice, in my opinion, say if the First Ward Action Council was able to work its magic, because they have been able to do that with some other houses around Binghamton. If you look on Front Street, some of the areas, I believe Crandall Street, some of those neighborhoods north of Maine, they took houses that were in bad shape and through a lengthy effort made them habitable. And you take a look at what the transformation was in some of those projects, and the difference is day and night. I remember taking pictures of some of the houses, whether it was along Front Street or for some of the other First Ward Action Council projects, and thinking to myself, how are they going to take a couple of these structures that were in terrible condition? How are they going to fix them and make them attractive, and also come up with a way to make it affordable for people to live in those neighborhoods? And it was done. It's 10:44. This is Bob Joseph, live, loving Binghamton on Binghamton Now, WNBF. Binghamton Now, 10:47 on your Tuesday morning. I had an opportunity last evening to view the entire NBC News Meet the Press interview by Kristen Welker. So everybody was talking about it, so I thought, well, let's see. Everybody seemed to have some kind of opinion about the guy she interviewed, and I'm thinking, well, everybody is entitled to their opinion. You watch Meet the Press, or probably in most cases, people didn't actually watch the whole interview. They just heard snippets, bits and pieces online, or maybe bits and pieces in newscast. And so you come away with some opinions, either about the interviewer or about her subject. And I thought the only way to fully appreciate what was going on there with the interview is to watch the whole thing. So I did. And I commend NBC News for putting the whole thing online. So if you didn't see the NBC News Meet the Press interview with President-elect Donald John Trump Sr. and Kristen Welker, I suggest to you that you go watch it. Don't watch it yet. Don't watch it till afternoon, till Binghamton Now is over. But if you find yourself with about 75 minutes, look it up on YouTube and watch the whole thing. It's fascinating. It's fascinating. If you saw the interview, I'd like to know what you thought, because when I was on the program on Monday, I had not seen the interview. I had seen stories about some of the things that were said during the conversation, and I heard some sound bites, usually very short sound bites, 5, 10, 15 seconds. And that's okay. It gives you a little bit of an understanding. But you have to really watch the entire interview. And I have to say, I think Kristen Welker did a wonderful job. I haven't really watched Kristen Welker since she became the moderator on NBC News, the Meet the Press program. I just don't have a chance really to watch the Sunday talking head shows. typically. So I was impressed. And that's a tough job. It's a tough job to interview a president or a president-elect. And I believe I mentioned this on the program Monday. I think that it would be smart for Joe Biden to call up Meet the Press. He should call Kristen Welker right now at her office at Meet the Press and say, look, I saw the interview that you did with the president-elect, and now I want to do an interview like that as well. Could we do that? And I'm sure at first Kristen Welker would say, we already have next Sunday's program planned. We're going to be doing an interview with Taylor Swift, so sorry, we cannot accommodate you. Taylor Swift is locked in. But then I think Kristen Welker would say, wait a second. We can always reschedule Taylor Swift. She's not going anywhere, but you are still going to be president for another month or so, so now would be a good time to actually do an interview with you, the outgoing president. And then you can tell us what you hope to accomplish over the next 40 days. So that would be a good thing. I want Joe Biden to be interviewed by Kristen Welker. I want it to be the same length. I want them to post the entire interview unedited on YouTube. I think they should do it. I think that would be a smart move. That'd be smart for Biden. That'd be smart for Trump. It'd be smart for Kristen Welker. Go ahead. Do the interview. President Biden, do the interview. Insist. I want to answer questions. I want to show that I too can answer questions from NBC News. That'd be great. How to do that. It's 10:53 here at News Radio, WNBF, WNBF.com. If you have thoughts, go ahead and call us. If you have topics that we haven't touched on yet, there are a couple of other topics that I might touch on. I don't want to get the viewers upset. Last thing I need is to have any viewers upset. So, Pete Hegseth. I mean, when you think about that, Pete Hegseth, that's one thing that was touched on during the NBC News interview. So that Donald Trump says he still supports Pete Hegseth. So I guess he's doubling down. So Pete Hegseth for Secretary of Defense. And look, I know nothing about Pete Hegseth. I know more about Janine Pirro than I know about Pete Hegseth. I don't know that I ever really paid any attention to him. Pete Hegseth hasn't driven through Tioga County at 119 miles an hour. So how, up until a couple of weeks ago, how would I have even known? I don't watch Fox on weekends, typically, unless Janine Pirro's on, but that's to be expected. So Pete Hegseth has Donald Trump's ongoing support. Hegseth on Monday was busy meeting with senators. He met with one senator and said it was a great meeting. Sure it was. What else is going on here with Hegseth? He's a former National Guard captain. And Mr. Trump said, with Pete at the helm, America's enemies are on notice that our military will be great again and America will never back down. And of course, as many of our viewers know, Hegseth had been a host on the Fox and Friends weekend before the nomination. And I heard this, and I don't know who said it. Maybe was it Dan Bongino? Somebody said, and I don't believe this for a minute, but somebody said that by agreeing to be considered as the next Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth is giving up a great job at Fox News. And I'm thinking, well, yeah, obviously, if you're Secretary of Defense, you can't also be hosting a weekend show on a cable channel because that wouldn't be right. But the implication was, if for some reason Pete Hegseth is not confirmed by the Senate, that he could never go back to Fox News. And I'm thinking, how is that possible? If for some reason he doesn't become the Secretary of Defense, what prevents him from going back to Fox News and hosting the weekend show? I don't know of anything. I think it was Bongino who said, well, he's given up millions and millions of dollars, and wow, you know, a great position. And look, I don't get me wrong, I would love to be the host of Fox and Friends Weekend, but you know, that'll never happen. So maybe I'm envious, but the bottom line is, Pete Hegseth, there are two things that could happen. One, he might be confirmed as Secretary of Defense, or two, he might not be, and then, in my opinion, he could go back to Fox News. So anybody who has been spreading this malicious rumor that Pete Hegseth is giving up a lot because he agreed to be considered for Secretary of Defense, I don't think he's giving up a thing. It sounds like a win-win. If he's confirmed, he can run the military. If he's not confirmed, he can probably go back to Fox News. Let's see where he's going to suffer it all in all this. Plus, now everybody knows his name, knows what channel he's on. It's 10:57, listening to WNBF. 607-772-1290 on a Tuesday morning. Binghamton Now with Bob Joseph. We're here till noon. Coming up later today, Dan Bongino from noon to 3, Sean Hannity from 3 to 6, Mark Levin from 6 to 9. It's sort of like, hate to say predictable, but it sometimes feels somewhat predictable with our schedule here at the station. So I guess consistency is a good thing. Source for some local news and some original reporting, WNBF.com. I have a couple of stories already in mind that may intrigue you, amuse you, maybe shock you. The two stories right now that I am going to be working on in the next couple of hours. Doubt anybody is going to be really shocked, but I think they're intriguing. So with that in mind, keep your eye on WNBF.com. Yes, it's the source of intrigue and original local reporting. Sure, why not? Let's check the email. Probably should mention the email address more often. Let's see. Oh, here's something. Tommy, can you hear me? Tommy from Binghamton. Remind your listeners that Binghamton City Schools is holding a referendum about funding reconstruction for Roosevelt School. Yes, it is underway. I saw a story somewhere, and the story said, find out where to vote. I think that was the headline over that part of the story. And then I looked, and it said that, well, the vote is on December 10th. It just didn't say where to vote. And I'm thinking, well, I guess if you're interested, I guess you could call the school district, and they'll tell you where to go. Let me see, because I have to admit, I was going to do a story about it yesterday, and then I wound up focusing a lot of my time on that building that used to be at 188 Court Street. So I figured somebody else would do a good story here about the school district vote. I'm punching up the school district website. Binghamton City School District. Believe, belong, become. By the way, one of my goals for 2025 is to get a computer that will load the city school district website quickly for times like this. Because I'm working here in real time trying to get this website to load, but I'm sure at some point, oh, here it is. Yes, information on the capital project. All right. We'll talk about that shortly. Let's take a couple of calls. Hi, WNBF. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
What's your name? Where you call? Oh, I'm sorry. That's what you asked me. This is DJ in Binghamton. How you doing, bro? Pretty good, huh? That good? Okay.
Yeah, it's about as good as I can be under these circumstances. What's up?
Oh, good circumstances. It's wet and wild, second day in a row. What's up with you? I called to just chat about what's going on in Binghamton, New York. I heard you playing downtown, where I will be making an appearance pretty soon. What's going on in our local community today with DJ and Bob on the DJ and Bob show?
Well, everything's fine from my standpoint.
Really?
Did you vote?
Did you have a good vacation?
Yeah. Did you vote on the capital project for the school district?
Vote on the capital project for the school district? No, because I public schooled my daughter Star. I didn't send her to the public school. She's older now and she's out of school, so I didn't.
Well, you
vote.
live in the Binghamton City School District. Why don't you vote on they have a referendum going on. Go vote.
Well, as they say, I have bigger cats to fry. I mean, fish. But what I'm interested in voting on what's going on in this old world of ours with, things happening that are more important to me. Israel, Syria, the rapture, DJs, what is he having for lunch? Those types of things. So, no, I don't vote on, I'm not into politics. I don't get into politics anymore.
Yeah, but it's the future of education. The education of young people in Binghamton is at stake.
Well, I think the politicians need to keep their hands in their own pockets. So I'm going to be out there today spreading the word, brother, like I always am. I hope to see you maybe. We should grab
right
a
here,
Strange Brew.
So here's the thing. It says, because what they need, according to the school district, is money so they can fix up the Theodore Roosevelt School over on the north side. It's in bad shape. So that's why it's so important. You, of all people, have to understand that.
I know
that young people need to have a school that's modern and safe and efficient. It's good for the children. It's good for the educators. It's good for our city.
That's true. I, of all people, have been in many places, and let me tell you this: when I was in India for 5 weeks, they don't even have schools over in some places. Their homes are made with banana leaves covering those poles. What do you call them? Bamboo poles. So, depending on what part of the world you're in, that's good. I know I live in Binghamton. I know, but I'm not concerning myself with that. There's bigger souls to save, to win. So I'm not really going to concern myself with Woodrow Wilson or Thomas Jefferson.
No, it's Theodore Roosevelt. It's the Roosevelt School on the north side. The north side needs help.
I'm out there to hook the big ones. I want to get Jared Cram saved. We ministered to him the other night on the bus.
No, he's
like
fine.
That,
he's fine. Jared Cram.
Oh, is he?
I saw him the other day. He's fine. All right, well, I'm going to take another call then. I appreciate your checking in.
Was he lifting up his hands and shouting, Bobby?
No, thankfully he wasn't.
Lift your hands and shout. Praise the Lord and shout. All right, hey, you have a blessed day, brother. God bless you. Jesus is the Lord.
It's 11:18 at WNBF. So here's the information, and I'm looking at the school district website now. So the vote is today, and they started voting at 11. And in a moment, I'll tell you about the voting locations. But the voting is underway in the Binghamton City School District. And according to the website, the superintendent, Dr. Tanya Thompson, talked with people at the senior center in the First Ward a few days ago. And she presented an overview of the project to a couple of dozen people. The district reached out to the senior center to provide an opportunity to foster community engagement and awareness of the project. The event also provided a chance for people to share their thoughts. Superintendent Thompson explained the initiative is part of the Binghamton School District's commitment to ensuring all students have access to innovative and well-equipped educational spaces. According to the school district website, many people who were there at the senior center expressed appreciation that they were included in the planning process and highlighted the importance of investing in education for future generations. So that's what it's about. So the polling places for people who want to vote on the future of the elementary school on the north side, the Theodore Roosevelt School. These are the polling places. The First Ford Senior Center on Clinton Street, St. Patrick's School on the west side on Oak Street, St. Thomas Aquinas also on the west side, MacArthur on Vestal Avenue on the south side, Centenary United Methodist Church on the north side on Shenango Street, American Legion Post on Robinson Street on the east side, First Baptist Church on Baldwin Street on the south side, and also Cornell Cooperative Extension's Taste New York building on Upper Front Street, which is for Sunrise Terrace. So those are the polling places for today's referendum. So don't say you didn't know about it. That's what somebody will probably call in to the program tomorrow morning. Oh, I didn't know about it. Well, now you know. The referendum vote started 20 minutes ago. Voting will continue till 8 o'clock tonight. And let me just punch this up. This is on the City School District website, and I haven't previewed this, so let me just see what this video is about, because it's about a 4-minute video on rebuilding Theodore Roosevelt Elementary School. Let me just punch this up and see what happens here. All right, so they've got some
Several years ago, the
music.
district
Okay.
engaged in a feasibility study to determine how many buildings and how we could be right-sized for our current population.
All right, this is the superintendent, Dr. Tanya Thompson. So we will hear a bit about this referendum and the project that's proposed for the school on the north side. Again, Superintendent Tanya Thompson is discussing some of the key points about the planned project.
That study, after its conclusion, revealed that we absolutely had to maintain a school here on the north side of Binghamton. Theodore Roosevelt is currently sitting on a piece of property that used to house a previous Theodore Roosevelt Elementary School. And in 1970, that building was taken down and the current building was built. When they built buildings in the 1970s, they often used an insulate onto the walls and to the ceilings that they would spray on, and unbeknownst to them, it contained some asbestos. And so while it's not within the airflow of the building currently, it's contained behind the walls and up inside the ceilings.
First and foremost, not being able to fix things is very challenging. We can't drill into the walls. We can't hang anything. We can't fix windows that don't open and close. We can't fix plumbing fixtures like toilets, sinks, and urinals when they break. And it just makes it really challenging.
That was
Theodore
the principal.
Roosevelt is going to involve 3 phases. One of the phases is going to involve taking the current instructional tower, which is 3 floors. This is where all of our current classrooms exist for pre-K through grades 5, and abating that structure and then demolishing that structure. The second phase is going to involve taking the component where the current instructional wing is, and rebuilding that. So our classrooms for classrooms in pre-K through grades 5 will be brand new. The third phase involves taking the current library, cafeteria, and gymnasium and abating that space and renovating it to match the rest of the building. So that's how we're referencing this as a rebuild and renovation.
With the new neighborhood concept, we'll be able to have 4 4th grade classrooms and an area just to themselves, isolated, and then 4 5th grade classrooms with their area to themselves and intervention spaces isolated. So it'll give us a chance to have small assemblies, have intervention spaces, have grade level meetings, and do so many cool things to build that grade level community that we're always trying to build.
All right, well, that's about half of the video. If you want to see the whole thing, it's at the Binghamton School District website. So it gives you a sense of what is planned for the school. But it won't happen unless it's approved by the city school district voters today. So if you want to vote, go vote. If you want the project to go forward, you can vote in favor of it. If for some reason you don't, then vote against it. But I encourage people, if you live in the Binghamton City School District, vote on it. It's the future of that school. It's the future of the children of Binghamton. It's the future of America. If you care, maybe you don't care about the North Side. Maybe there is somebody listening who doesn't care about the North Side. You should. I do. I care about every part of Binghamton. But even, say, if you live on the West Side or the South Side or the East Side, you should care that every school is in good shape and that it can have some modern amenities. According to the website, the total cost of the project would be $56 million. The school district will apply $24 million of its capital reserve fund toward the project. The rest, $32 million, would be bonded and repaid over time with disbursements from the state building aid. Binghamton City School District receives more than 96% in state building aid. So think about that. If you think schools ought to be nice and modern, then you have a way to do something about that. It's 11:26 at WNBF. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Martin Binghamton. How are you, Bob?
I am great. How are things, Martin?
Hanging in there, appointments all the time, but they're good, beneficial. So, but I got something to say, but real quick about that first guy that just called all the time. He calls you up and asks, how are you doing? And then just kind of moseys around and doesn't really have much to say. And he's talking about, you say, well, he's going to go save Cram. And, he's fine. He's calm. When he says,
I think Jared Cram isn't, I talk to Jared Cram usually, I think at least once a week. I'll probably talk to him this afternoon. Seems fine, seems happy.
What he says calls people saving people. Other people call it annoying. I mean, people have their own right what they want to do, but that's up to him. I mean, whatever. But it's like too heavenly minded to be any earthly good sometimes. But hey, well, I'm calling you talking about Kristen Welker, but this just came across my phone that I guess last night Trump told Elon Musk to pick up his tray and move over a couple of tables. And they're saying that, the honeymoon's over here. And that Secret Service says Trump is the pickiest diva ever in U.S. history, that he's just so fussy, the fussiest diva.
Well, fussy about what? About how much ketchup is on his Big Mac? He has every right to be fussy.
Yeah,
the people voted for him. He should be America's diva.
I don't know, but that just happened to come there. But other thing came through. Is this true? That you see that? And I got other things to say. That it's like, well, he's losing the QAnon vote. Well, why? Because he's fitting too many sex offenders in there, and they're all Republican, and that's annoying to the QAnon crowd. But
he's not losing any of the QAnon crowd. The QAnon crowd loves him. The QAnon crowd will always vote for him.
Well, this is just what came across my phone. But
don't believe everything you see on your phone. This guy, by the way, did you watch much of the interview with Kristen Welker?
I saw when people were when they were talking on different news programs about a different subject, and they'd go back and talk with him about that, and it's just mostly ludicrous. I mean, going after the general J6 committee and them for what? Doing their job? Because this guy's breaking the Constitution and wants to stop the presidency from going forward. I mean, we all know what time it is about that. And doesn't he got better things to do? And also about the tariffs. You saw that with her, and
I saw the whole thing. I just because I watched it didn't mean I agreed with everything I heard. I thought it was a great interview. I thought it was a win-win. I thought Kristen Welker did well. I thought the president-elect did well. I didn't see anything that was bad about it.
Well, when she says dozens of economists say that the tariffs are going to hurt the people, and he disagrees, well, we'll see. I mean, it can only hurt the people.
Well, we'll see. That's right. Yeah. I mean, I'm glad that he said that. I don't happen to agree. I happen to think the tariffs are likely to raise costs for good people like you and me, but we'll see. What if I'm wrong?
That's not why they voted him.
Yeah,
that's not why they voted him, Bob. They're and he keeps mentioning the word groceries.
That's right. He had a good point there. I think he synthesized exactly why he won over Kamala Harris, because she wasn't focused on the high price of food, and he was.
Yeah, well, he's coming right out of the gate and going to impose tariffs.
But we'll see. One thing I believe he said during the interview, and I think people may have overlooked it, he made a reference that things can be adjusted. I don't know that he used the word adjusted, but I think he said things could be changed. So he, in my opinion, based on one of the responses during the interview, he indicated that, say, if the prices start going up because of the tariffs that he's planning to impose, that he could make adjustments so that they would monitor. So if prices do start going up, then he could make changes to the tariffs.
It takes time.
I know. Look, anything you do with this government, the federal government or any government, it's like trying to turn a cruise ship. Yeah, it's going to take time.
Well, he had a quote that he says he knows more about judges than any person in U.S.
Oh, I had to laugh. I heard that. I'm sorry. I laughed out loud when he said that. Like somehow he knows more about judges than I do.
He's so deluded.
But that's okay. That's why this interview was great. Don't you agree with me that the interview was great, and Joe Biden ought to call up Kristen Welker and do the same kind of interview for next Sunday?
Well, it just shows that the guy that we're putting in here. But about the January 6th committee, do you really think those Liz Cheney and them deserve to go to jail for doing their job?
Well, of course not. But he's entitled to say it. When it comes to expressing his opinion, I think it's great. I hope he keeps expressing his opinion. At least we know what he's thinking. I'm not sure I know what Joe Biden's thinking, because when's the last time he did that kind of interview? That's why I say, because Biden's still president for more than a month, it's time now for Joe Biden to get on the line with Kristen Welker and say, I want equal time. I want to go wherever they taped that interview. I don't even know where it was taped, but wherever it was, I want to go to the same spot, and I want you to interview me for 90 minutes. I have things to say. I'm not done.
Well, Biden's going to pardon a lot of people, too. He's lining it all up, and so we'll see about that. So that's what he came off with. But I think it's just a hell of a waste of time to go after the January 6th committee. Oh, and pardoning the people. People have died. The defending all the Republicans are all for law and order, and these people are beating up the police. 2 people died, lose their eye, post-traumatic stress. Hundreds of them got hurt. You know what time it is, and they're supposedly patriots. He's going to let them out of jail. Bob, do you think that's fair?
No, of course it's not fair.
Okay, it's not.
But he can say whatever he wants. The bottom line with that guy is he's not even president yet, so go ahead, say whatever you want, buddy, until January 20th. And then, starting January 20th at noon, everything you say, you got to watch what you say. That's when he had better watch out. He can say whatever he wants. He has no power now. One of the things that did concern me is he wouldn't answer Kristen Welker directly about his conversations with President Putin. He acknowledged in the interview that he has spoken with Vladimir Putin since the election, but he was cagey about the last time he talked with Putin, and he was cagey about the things he's talked about. Kristen Welker made reference, as I have on this program, so I think Kristen Welker must be listening to this program because she made reference to his promise during the campaign that he could stop the war within 24 hours. And basically, she brought it up, but she didn't follow through. Because if he said during the campaign, I could stop that war in 24 hours even before I take office, I would have had a lot more questions, like saying, you were elected on November 5th. The war is still going on a month later. Why? Why didn't you stop it in 24 hours or 48 hours? What's the holdup?
Well, he's a magic man. You know,
he is who he is, but he needs... Kristen Welker did a great job, but in some parts of the interview, I don't think she held him accountable. She should have said about the war, look, bud, you can't say that to the president-elect, but again, look, he's just one of us. He's just one of us. He's like you and me, except richer, and lives in Florida. But other than that, he's just like us. So all you had to say, in my opinion, is, look, Mr. Trump, you said that you could stop the war in 24 hours. What are you waiting for? Let's get it stopped, okay?
Well, he's the almighty Oz, you know. But,
well, and don't get me started about Dr. Oz. You're just trying to punch me in the nose and talking about Mehmet Oz. I don't want to hear about Dr. Oz or any other wizards.
77 is that their number, right? Former Nobel Peace Prize winners will come out and spoke against RFK.
I know.
Look, come on, this cabinet is nothing. He's got 9 billionaires. They're either billionaires or loyalists or Fox News hosts,
right?
Or bootlickers. This is all it is. You know, it's nothing about by the people and for the people. It's for him.
Of course, it's for him. Look, the people voted for him. That's what it's about.
Well, be loyal to the Fuhrer. That's what we're in
for. That's beyond. That's beyond the bounds. Martin.
My dog's here. I got to let my dog out.
All right. Tell your dog I said hello.
Wonder what kind of dog Trump's going to bring in.
Well, hopefully a beagle. No. Cocker Spaniel. No. A golden retriever.
A pug.
Thank you, Martin. A pug. 11:37 WNBF. Yeah. He's going to get a dog. He's going to adopt the dog probably from the Broome County Dog Shelter up on Front Street. That's what I recommend. Like they say, if you want a friend, get yourself a dog. 11:38 WNBF. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Bob from Vestal. I am wow.
All right. Well, we need to take a break. I need to take a break. More coming up on WNBF. Don't touch that dial. And by the way, we still have time. If you want to call in and talk, because I want to talk. That's all I do here is talk. Talk. We've got more conversation coming up in just a moment. You won't want to miss any of it on Binghamton Now. Bob in Vestal, good morning. You're on the air. Let's go to Dave in Vestal. Dave in Vestal, good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, good morning there, Bob. How's it going?
Going well, thank you.
Good. Bob, you know, people just keep they have this Trump bashing addiction. They just keep calling. They can't kick the habit, Bob. It's like heroin.
Yes, they can, and they will, baby. They'll go into one of those 42-step programs,
right?
And they'll vow to apologize to the president-elect and to his family and to his friends.
Bob, you know, a point I'd like to make today, Bob. I was thinking about it last night. You know, think back. John Fetterman, Bob, and this is ironic. Remember back when he was running for senator and he had that stroke and he had that problem, and I'm guilty of it too. I was putting him down. So how can that guy win? He can't be senator. Listen to him. Well, you know what, Bob? Isn't it ironic that he's turned out to be one of the most, I don't know, sane guy on the left, Bob? He's using more common sense.
Well, maybe he's going to be nominated to be director of Secret Service since Bongino doesn't want to give up his day job.
Yeah, okay. But, Bob, don't you agree, though? I mean, he's come a long way, and the guy actually uses common sense. And if you look how he was, it's amazing to me. I've been following, listening to him, and he's using common sense, Bob. And I love that word, common sense, because people don't use enough of it, especially in politics, Bob.
I think people use just the right amount. Just enough to get by.
No. Common sense isn't used enough, especially in politics, Bob. Most people, it's ideology and money. Those are the two most important
you've
things.
got it in the wrong order. The most important thing is money. Money is most important, then common sense, and then everything else. Money talks, no one walks.
Money, ideology.
Money.
Common sense is down. It's down on the list, Bob.
So, that's okay. People still use it. But most importantly is money. Cash, baby. Small, unmarked, untraceable bills. That's what it's about.
Yeah. I know a couple of bills untraceable, Bob. They're on the run. Hey, so I was going to tell you something else too, Bob, and I forget what it was now. Darn it.
Well, why don't you call tomorrow? Why don't you call in tomorrow?
I'll listen.
Okay.
Sure
Do you mind if I can I go on and take a couple more calls?
Oh, yeah, you have my permission. Go ahead, Bob.
Thank you. I'll talk to you tomorrow. 1144 WNBF. Tom and Endwell, good morning.
Good morning, Bob. I just wanted to jump in on that one caller that, like, obviously he cannot stand Trump. But my thing is, when it comes to Trump ending the wars, you need to focus on what Joe Biden's doing and how he's handling the wars. It's like you telling me, hey, I can have that fire out in 24 hours, but I'm running around just lighting more fires, by the day. Like, how are you going to be able to put all those fires out when I just keep creating more and more and more? Like, I think he needs to focus on, how Joe Biden's handling, like, finishing up his term. He's, like, really nowhere to be found. He's fallen asleep in Africa.
Well, that's what my point was. That's why Joe Biden ought to be interviewed by Kristen Welker and then show the whole darn thing on NBC News, on Meet the Press on Sunday. Am I right?
Yeah, and, and the funny thing is like, love him or hate him, but in the last 2 weeks, I mean, you have world leaders running to the table to sit down with Trump.
The one guy even got got his hand broken.
Hey, I mean, a powerful man, powerful handshake. Like,
well, it doesn't mean you have to injure people.
Well, I mean, regardless of that, but when it comes to tariffs are a tool.
Tariffs are a tax. Yeah, they're a tool, but they're also a tax. Don't lose sight that even though that may be a tool that he intends to use, you're going to wind up paying more for the stuff you buy.
Well, to get down to the nitty-gritty of it, the other countries could use tariffs as well.
Yes, everybody can. But the bottom line with tariffs, whether the tariffs are imposed by the USA or any other country, bottom line is consumers pay more.
Well, it's supposed to be equal fair trade.
Well, of course, but that still means I'm going to have to pay more for the stuff I buy. So what you're telling me is, after putting up with 4 years of hyperinflation, that I'm supposed to put up with higher prices next year?
No, because...
Well, that's exactly, if he goes through with his threat on tariffs, it's going to raise the price of the stuff I have to buy.
Right, but if you listen to me, when you use tariffs as a tool, like, it will hurt the other countries worse, because
I don't care about the other countries getting hurt worse. It's going to hurt me too. It's my money. I'm running out, baby. I don't have more money. I've taken a beating over the last 4 years because of the high price of food, the high price of gas, the high price of everything. And here I thought January 20th we would finally get some blessed relief.
Well, first of all, Bidenomics was working. Remember?
But not for me. It didn't help me one bit. Maybe it worked for you. It didn't help me at all.
Real quick, though, let me just finish. When Trump uses the tool of a tariff, those other countries already know that they're taxing the hell out of us at the shores, but we're not taxing them at all. So they want to keep it good. So they're going to come to the table and they're going to set up a better deal. So America will win and they'll still be good.
All right. Well, if you say it's going to work out, we'll see. Because if I have to pay 1 penny more starting January 20th, I'm going to mention it on this program. Here I thought, after the election, I thought prices were going to be stabilized. And now, come to find out, the prices are likely to go up. If these tariffs are approved, companies don't pay the tariffs. Ultimately, they pass along the cost of the tariffs to me and to you. We can't afford that. It's 11:49. This is Bob Joseph taking calls on Binghamton Now. Let's go back to the phones and see who's there. Bob from Vestal, good morning.
I'm going to try to be calm and talk to you rationally, which is very hard for me to do. Why is everything a big joke to you? People try to make points with you, and you say something you think is funny. I don't think it's funny, and I know a lot of people don't think it's funny. This is serious stuff that's going on. Do you understand what I'm trying to tell you?
Yes.
Life is not a big joke. I don't know what you think here, but this show could be very good if you would let people, intelligent people who call here, make their point without you saying something about Donald Trump or this or that, or I don't understand this. I listen to Gallagher most of the morning. I come back here, pulled in my driveway. He doesn't come in. So I turn it there, and there's Martin saying how many people died on January 6th. That's bull. One person died. She got shot.
Because she was trespassing. She was in a federally protected zone, and she violated the federal law.
Hey, Joseph, you go trespass somewhere, do you expect to get shot? See what I mean?
If you go into the U.S. Capitol and you aren't supposed to be there, there could be potentially fatal consequences.
I'll take over Pelosi's office. How's that? These people, you think these politicians are God. They're not. They're idiots. And you love them. Oh, and you take that Bragg and you take that James. They got to go. These people are sick. Prosecuting people like that and then letting murderers run down the street. I mean, Bob, do you really believe you vote for these people? Huh?
Sorry, I'm having trouble. We got a little static on my line.
Yeah, of Yeah, I don't know. The people you believe in, I just cannot understand it. You're always cutting down people who are very smart, and they're trying to get this country back from where it's been for 4 years. And you people think that, oh, no, Trump's going to ruin everything. And I don't know where your minds are. I just cannot figure it out.
Appreciate your call. Thank you. 11:55 at WNBF. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Joe from Owego.
What's going on?
I would like to know your concept of the purpose of the suggested tariffs. To me, it is to encourage the other countries to help in controlling the flow of immigrants. And I think the flow of immigrants has a cost factor that may be offset by the utilization of the tariffs as an incentive to other countries to assist in diminishing the cost of immigrants for those of us in the United States and possibly be reflected in your cost of living.
All right. Well, I appreciate your call. We're out of time. Hope you have a good afternoon.
Going to have.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
11:56, that's all the time we've been allotted for this Tuesday, but don't worry, I'll be back tomorrow morning with another dramatic episode of Binghamton Now. I'm Bob Joseph on WNBF.